She took off her engagement ring every single Friday night. I noticed it for the first time on a Tuesday, not because she was leaving, but because she came back wearing it. The diamond caught the kitchen light just wrong, and something in my stomach turned cold. 3 years. 3 years with Nadia, and I thought I knew every habit, every quirk, every nervous laugh she had. I thought I knew her the way you know a song you've heard 1,000 times, automatically, without even trying. I was wrong. My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 34, I work in logistics, and was the kind of man who believed in trusting his partner completely. My first marriage ended because I was too suspicious, too controlling. Therapy fixed that. Or at least, I thought it did. Nadia was everything my ex-wife wasn't. Warm. Present. She remembered small things, the way I liked my coffee, the name of my late dog, the anniversary of my mom's passing. When I proposed on that rooftop in November, she cried before I even finished the sentence. So why was her ring sitting on the bathroom counter every Friday at 7 p.m.? I told myself it was nothing. She said it herself. Danny, I don't want to lose it at the bar. You know how I get with drinks. She laughed. I laughed. I kissed her forehead and handed her her jacket. But then my coworker Marcus saw her out one Saturday night downtown. He didn't say anything dramatic. He just leaned over my desk Monday morning, coffee in hand, and said casually, "Hey, your girl was at Lux last night. Didn't see a ring though. Thought you two were engaged." The room didn't spin. My heart didn't race. It was worse than that. Everything just went completely, horribly quiet. I didn't confront her that Monday. Or Tuesday. I'm not proud of what I did instead. I watched. I told myself it was just clarity I was after. Not surveillance, not paranoia. Just answers. Nadia left every Friday around 8 p.m. with her friends, Priya and Simone. They'd been a trio since college. I'd met them both, liked them both, never had a reason to question any of it. But now I started paying attention to the small things. The ring, gone by 7:45 every Friday without fail, placed on the little ceramic dish beside the sink. Like clockwork. Like habit. That's what bothered me most. It wasn't careless. It was routine. Her phone had always been somewhat private. She wasn't the type to share memes by handing me the screen. But now I noticed she'd angle it away when I walked into a room. Not dramatically, just slightly. A small shift of the wrist. The kind of thing you only notice when you're already looking. Wednesday night, I made dinner. Pasta, her favorite. We sat across from each other like we always did, and I watched her talk about her day. Something about a difficult client. Something about Priya's new apartment. And I kept thinking, who are you when I'm not in the room? You're quiet, she said, twirling her fork. Long day, I said. She reached across and squeezed my hand. Her ring caught the candlelight. She was wearing it now, here, with me, in this kitchen that smelled like garlic and olive oil, and everything safe. I squeezed back and smiled. And I hated myself for it. Because I'd already decided. That Friday, I wasn't going to stay home. I was going to follow her. Not to catch her, I told myself. Just to see. Just to put my mind at rest. That's what every man tells himself, right? Before he finds out something he can never unknow. She left at 8:12. I gave her 15 minutes, then grabbed my jacket and my keys. The place wasn't hard to find. She'd mentioned Lux before, laughed about its sticky floors and overpriced cocktails. It was the kind of bar that was too loud to have a real conversation in, which I'd always thought was the point for some people. I parked across the street and sat in my car like an idiot for 5 full minutes, asking myself what exactly I was doing. A 34-year-old man, hiding behind a steering wheel, spying on his fiancée. Therapy would have a field day with this, I thought. But I got out anyway. The bar was packed for a Friday. Music thumping, lights low and purple tinged. I pulled my hood up, not to hide, just because it was cold, I told myself, and made my way inside. I found her within 2 minutes. Nadia was at a high table near the back with Priya and Simone, exactly like she always said. 3 women, drinks in hand, laughing at something on someone's phone. Normal. Completely, almost disappointingly normal. I exhaled, and then a man walked over. Tall, well-dressed, the kind of confident that fills a room. He hugged Priya first, then Simone, then Nadia, and when he hugged Nadia, she laughed and pulled back and punched his arm like they were old friends. He pulled up a stool, joined the group. My jaw tightened. I watched for 20 minutes. He made them all laugh. He bought a round of drinks. He leaned in close to say something to Nadia once, and she shook her head smiling, and he shook his too, like they'd just disagreed about something small and familiar. He never touched her inappropriately. Never. Not once. But here's the thing that broke me. She looked relaxed. Completely, fully relaxed. In a way I realized, standing there in the dark of that bar, that she never quite looked at home. I left before she saw me. Drove home. Made tea I didn't drink. Sat on the couch until 1 a.m. when I heard her key in the door. She came in glowing. That post-night out energy she always had. Cheeks flushed, heels in her hand. You're up late, she said warmly. Couldn't sleep. She kissed my cheek, smelled like perfume and bar air, and went to wash her face. I heard the ceramic dish clink in the bathroom, her ring going back on. I waited until she was asleep. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I picked up her phone from the nightstand. We had each other's passcodes. She'd given me hers without me even asking, back in month 2. I'd never used it before. I used it now. Her messages were mostly ordinary. Priya and Simone in a group chat, memes and voice notes. Her sister, her mom, a work thread, and then, a contact saved simply as K. The last message was from that night. 11:47 p.m. K, great seeing you. Tell him soon, Nadia. It's not fair to either of you. Nadia, I know. I will. Just not yet. I set the phone down. Lay back. stared at the ceiling while Nadia slept 6 inches away from me, her breathing slow and even and completely unbothered. Tell him soon. Tell me what asterisk. I didn't sleep at all that night. By 4 a.m. I had a name. I went back to the messages, scrolled further up, weeks back. The conversation was careful, minimal. But there was one older message where Nadia had accidentally used a full name in a rush of typing. Call it, I can't talk right now. I'll call you later. Call it. I lay there in the gray early morning light, and I thought about 3 years of trust. About therapy and growth, and choosing to believe in people. Then I thought about a ring sitting on a ceramic dish every single Friday night. And I started making a plan. I didn't explode. That surprised me most about myself. Saturday morning, I made breakfast. Eggs, toast, the whole thing. Nadia came downstairs in my old university sweatshirt, hair up, and smiled at the table like it was any normal weekend. We ate. We talked about small things. She mentioned wanting to visit her parents next month. Then I put my fork down and said, very quietly, "Who is Khalid?" The air changed. Not dramatically. She didn't drop anything, didn't go pale. But her eyes changed. A flicker, like a light adjusting. "What?" she said. "Khalid," I repeated. "Who is he?" She looked at me for a long moment. Then she looked down at her plate. "Danny." I saw the message, Nadia. I kept my voice calm. I was proud of that. The one where he said to tell me. And where you said not yet. I paused. "So tell me. Now." She pushed her plate aside. Put both hands flat on the table. She wasn't panicking. She looked almost like someone who'd been waiting for a door to finally open. "He's nobody dangerous," she said. "I need you to hear that first." "Then what is he?" She looked up at me. Her eyes were steady but tired. Not guilty tired. Sad tired. "He's my brother," she said. "My half-brother. That I found out about 14 months ago." The kitchen was very quiet. "What?" I said. "My dad had another family." She said it flatly, like the words still didn't fit right in her mouth. "Before my parents married. A woman in another city. Khalid is the son. He found me through one of those DNA testing sites." She exhaled slowly. "He reached out 14 months ago. We've been meeting carefully, privately, because I haven't told my mother yet. Because it will destroy her. And I haven't told you because I didn't know how. And I kept waiting for the right time. And the right time never." Her voice broke. Just slightly. "I take my ring off," she whispered. "Because Khalid doesn't know you yet. And I didn't want to have to explain everything to him before I'd explained it to why." I didn't say anything for a long time. Outside, a car passed. A neighbor's dog barked twice and went quiet. The eggs on my plate went cold. 14 months, I finally said. "Yes. You've been carrying this for 14 months, and you didn't tell me." She pressed her lips together. "I know. Nadia." I leaned forward. "I thought you were." I stopped. Rearranged. "I've been thinking the worst about you for 2 weeks. Do you understand that? I followed you last night." She blinked. "You were there? Across the bar?" "Yes." Something moved across her face. Not anger. More like sorrow. "Oh, Danny. Don't know Danny me." My voice finally cracked slightly. "I sat in my car like a fool. I watched you with some man I didn't know, and I built a whole story in my head about who you were becoming, and I stopped. Breathed. I looked at you sleeping last night, and I didn't recognize you. I'm sorry." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I am so sorry. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because," she said, and her eyes filled, "you lost your mother 3 years ago. You talk about family like it's the most sacred thing in the world. I found out my father had a secret family, a whole other son, and I couldn't process what that meant about who I am, about everything I thought was true about my childhood. And she wiped her eye quickly. "I didn't want you to look at me differently. I didn't want to be someone with a complicated, broken family history. I wanted to still be your Nadia. Simple. Clean. Yours." The ring on her finger caught the light. I thought about what it means to love someone, really love them. Not the easy version. The version that includes their secrets and their shame and the parts they haven't figured out yet. I reached across the table. Slowly. She watched my hand like she wasn't sure what it meant. I covered hers with mine. "Tell me about him," I said quietly. "Tell me about Khalid." His name was Khalid Farhan. 31 years old. Worked as a structural engineer. Lived 40 minutes away, which felt both too close and too far given the circumstances. Nadia told me everything over the next 2 hours, her tea going cold 3 times. She'd talk, then stop, then start again, like she was unpacking boxes she'd sealed a long time ago. Her father, had been a young man in another city when he met Khalid's mother. It was brief, complicated, and ended before Nadia's parents ever met. Her father never spoke of it. Khalid grew up knowing his father's name, but nothing else. When the DNA kit matched them, Khalid had hesitated for 3 months before reaching out. His first message was very careful, Nadia said. Very polite. He said he didn't want to disrupt my life. That he'd understand completely if I didn't want contact. He wanted to know if I existed. "What did you feel?" I asked. "Terrified," she said immediately. And then, weirdly, relieved. Like something I didn't know I was missing suddenly had a shape. She paused. "He looks like my dad. Around the eyes. It's the strangest thing to look at someone and see your father in a face you've never seen before." They'd been meeting monthly. Coffee mostly. Sometimes dinner with Priya and Simone present as quiet support. Building something carefully, slowly. The way you build things that could collapse if you rush them. "Does he know about your mother? That you haven't told her?" "Yes. He respects it. He's not pushing." She almost smiled. "He's actually very calm. Very steady. You'd probably like him." I looked at my fiancée, really looked at her. At the exhaustion under her eyes that I'd been misreading as distance. At the weight she'd been quietly carrying through every ordinary dinner and every easy Sunday morning. "I want to meet him," I said. She looked up sharply. Properly, I added. As your fiancé, not from across a dark bar. For the first time that morning, she laughed, a small, wet, relieved sound. Yeah, she said softly. Okay, yes. We met Khalid the following Thursday at a quiet cafe near the river. I was more nervous than I expected to be. I kept reminding myself this wasn't an interrogation, it was an introduction. But there was something strange about meeting a man who was already deeply connected to the woman I loved. A man who knew a piece of her story that I hadn't known existed. He was already there when we arrived. Standing, not sitting, the kind of person who stands when people approach. Firm handshake. Measured smile. Nadia was right. Around the eyes, there was something of her father in him. The same slightly serious brow that lifted when he was listening carefully. Daniel, he said. I've heard a lot about you. Likewise, I said. Well, recently. He smiled at that. An honest smile. She was protecting everyone at once. It's very her. Nadia sat between us, and for the first half hour the conversation was careful, polite, surface level. But Khalid was easy to talk to once the formality softened. He asked real questions. He listened to the answers. Somewhere around the second round of coffee, without anyone deciding it, we stopped performing and just talked. He told me what it was like growing up knowing half of your origin story. The gap where a father should have been. Not dramatic, just present, like background noise you learn to live around. I didn't find Nadia to blow anything up, he said, looking at me directly. I want you to know that. I found her because I needed to know that part of myself existed somewhere. She's been. He paused, glanced at her. She's been very generous with that. Nadia looked at the table. I looked at Khalid. And I thought, this is what secrets do when you finally open them up. Sometimes they're not bombs. Sometimes they're just people. Everything with Khalid settled into something manageable. Real even. But there was still the hardest part left. Nadia's mother. Rehana Malik was 63, sharp-tongued, deeply loving, and had spent 40 years building her marriage into something she was quietly proud of. Her husband had passed 4 years ago. What remained was the story she told about who they'd been together. Faithful, solid, enduring. Khalid's existence rewrote that story. Nadia had been carrying that knowledge, not just about Khalid, but about what it meant for her mother's memory of her father, for over a year. I can't decide if telling her is kindness or cruelty, she told me one night, staring at the ceiling. It might be both, I said honestly. That doesn't help. I know. We talked about it for weeks. Khalid left the decision entirely to Nadia. No pressure, no timeline. But Nadia couldn't let it rest. It was the thing beneath the thing. The reason the secret had grown so heavy. Finally, one Sunday afternoon, she called her mother. I sat in the hallway outside the living room. Not listening, just there. In case. The call lasted 47 minutes. I know because I watched the time. When Nadia came out, her eyes were red but her face was oddly calm. She sat beside me on the floor, back against the wall. How did she take it? I asked carefully. Nadia was quiet for a moment. She said she knew, she said finally. Not about Khalid specifically. But she said, she always felt there was something her husband never told her. Something from before. She said she chose not to pull at that thread because she was happy and the thread scared her. She leaned her head on my shoulder. She cried. A lot. But she didn't fall apart. A pause. She asked if Khalid was a good person. What did you say? I said yes. Nadia exhaled slowly. She said then maybe something good came from something complicated. And that she'd need time. But maybe, eventually, she'd like to meet him. I put my arm around her. Outside, it had started to rain. We got married 4 months later. Small ceremony. 40 people. The venue was nothing like either of us had originally imagined. No grand hall, no elaborate flowers. Just a garden belonging to a friend's family, string lights overhead, the kind of evening that smells like cut grass and possibility. Khalid was there. Nadia had introduced him to her mother 6 weeks before the wedding. A quiet Sunday lunch that Nadia described afterward as awkward and tender and strangely normal, all at once. Rehana had cried twice and then insisted on packing Khalid a container of food to take home. He'd texted Nadia later that night. She's incredible. I see where you come from. He sat in the third row at the ceremony, beside Priya and Simone. He stood when Nadia walked in. Everyone did, but I caught his face for just a moment. Something quiet and full in his expression. The look of a man watching his sister walk toward her life. I thought about all the things I'd almost broken with suspicion. How close I'd come to turning a secret into a wound, instead of waiting long enough to understand it. Nadia reached me at the end of the aisle and took my hands and I said, quietly, just to her, you could have told me. She smiled. I know. I'm telling you everything from now on. Even the embarrassing stuff? Especially the embarrassing stuff. When we exchanged rings, she held on to mine for just a second before sliding it on. I thought about a ceramic dish by a bathroom sink. About all the meanings we assign to small things before we understand them. The ring caught the evening light. She never took it off again.